Hi everyone, this is Bo from Bo to Fitness, and in today's video we're looking at optimal meal frequency and timing to enhance fat loss and build muscle. This is task 10 if you're following along in our challenge checklist, and what we're looking at today is really how to take the meals that you've created so far and implement them in your daily schedule so that you're eating them at the right times. And what I mean by the right times is this idea of when you're, whether you're going to be sedentary, maybe you're doing some just, seated work for a long period of time, you're going to be working out, you're going to be doing something very active that's not necessarily structured exercise, like you're just, raking the lawn, mowing the lawn, whatever. There's going to be, ideally a little bit better timing of meals as far as the kinds of meals you eat and when you eat them. This is not necessarily a deal breaker, but if you have a little bit of forethought with your meals and timing, it can really be helpful for making sure your workouts are better, to make sure that you feel good during the workout. So there's kind of a difference between what we'd call pre-workout nutrition and post-workout nutrition. And if you're aware, again, how to tweak that, you can plan out your meals a little bit better for the day based upon your schedule. So that being said, under the considerations here, you can see that when it comes to figuring out when you should eat your meals, what's going to be the best time for them, you want to be thinking about, your schedule, your routine. Are you an early morning workout person, or are you going to be really sedentary? Are you going to, get up in the morning, and then are you going to be spending most of the day seated? Those two different people are going to be eating, or should be eating, very different as far as because their activity levels are so different. So what is your overall daily activity level like? Are you working out a lot all day long? Is your job very physical, or are you again very sedentary? What time of day do you work out? Do you work out morning, afternoon, evening? Because again, our nutrition might be a little bit different depending on what time of day we work out. We'll talk more about that in a second. We already mentioned, is it sedentary work or physical? What are you going to be doing after you eat the meal? So another thing to be thinking about is, are you going to be doing something that requires a lot of mental energy after you eat, or will it be very physical? Because some foods are more prone to make us tired, and certain food combinations can make us feel more tired, and especially mentally tired. So you want to be thinking about what is it you're going to be doing after you eat this meal. And some foods are going to be better at helping with energy production. So again, if we can be conscious of what we're going to be doing in the next few hours, that's going to be helpful. Many people sometimes phrase this as eating to fuel your body rather than just eating for pleasure. You're literally using food as energy and nutrition, not necessarily just because it tastes good. But what time do you go to bed? We want to be thinking about when should that last meal be before bedtime, and what kind of meal should it be, what should be in it. What time do you get up in the morning? Also, you may want to be thinking about who are you going to be eating with. So when you're planning out your meals, you want to be thinking, am I going to be eating with my family? Am I going to be eating at work? Even the environment. Again, a lot of people tell me, I go to work and I can't really eat healthy because all they have available is junk. Well, that means you're not really doing a great job planning to have something available that's healthy to eat at work, and that's gonna, you want to be thinking about that. If you always tend to fail at work, then you want to be thinking ahead. Say, I got to come up with a strategy to, make sure I do well during those hard, difficult times when it's hard for me to resist, those tempting foods. And then availability of food. What is available? Sometimes you can actually plan out your meals where you're going to be going, let's say, a few times a week to a fast food place or out to a restaurant, and if you're going to go with a little forethought and actually knowing what you're going to order before you go to the restaurant, and kind of knowing a little bit about the calories and macros, can allow you to have that flexibility that when you go out to eat, you're not going to derail your whole diet because you already have a plan in advance. So these are all some factors that we have to consider, so that when you're structuring your individual meal plan, you're really customizing it to you and not just sort of trying to follow a one-size-fits-all approach. So let's talk about some of these little nuances a little bit and some things to think about as far as planning out your schedule. So we'll start off with right off the bat, I think I want to really look at the workout time, because this is going to have a big impact as to what you're going to eat before you work out, and what you're going to avoid before you work out. So now, if you're let's just say you're working out in the afternoon sometime, then this is a good time in the afternoon, sometime a couple of hours prior to your workout. It'd be good to have a meal that contains a little bit of easy to digest carbohydrate that comes in the form of either fruits or starches, and you want to really limit fat and protein intake in that meal. It's not that it can't have a little bit, but we just don't really want to stock up on a lot of protein and fat right before we work out, because that's going to interfere in a negative way with our workout time, which we have in a whole nother video about pre and post workout nutrition. But the point is that we want something really simple, like fruit, a starchy like sweet potatoes, a shake like a smoothie that doesn't have, again, a lot of fat or protein in it. Just a little bit of carbohydrate and water prior to the workout will be, good. Now, on the other hand, let's say you work out first thing in the morning. If you're working out first thing in the morning, a lot of people tell me, especially if they're working out really early, like at 5:30 a.m. or 5 a.m., a lot of them say, I don't really feel like eating anything right before I work out, but they don't necessarily also want to work out fasted, especially if the type of training you're doing is going to be kind of high intensity. And I wouldn't recommend that either. It'd be one thing if you're just going to get up and you're going to go for a nice easy walk or a jog or something like that. You'd probably be fine fasted, maybe even have like a cup of black coffee. But if you're going to do any kind of high intensity training first thing in the morning, you still want to get some carbohydrate in your system. And I oftentimes recommend for those who are working out like super early and they don't really want to eat a lot, is to just go with a supplemental form of carbohydrate or some fresh fruit. So a product I really like is called Super Carb by the company NutriBio. And what's cool about this stuff is you can just take a scoop, put it in a water bottle, and you can just shake that up and then sip it as you drive into your workout. And then if you need a little bit more during the workout, you could always sip a little bit more. But the nice thing is it's not going to cause any gastric distress. It's very low in calories. It's very low glycemic. It helps get those glycogen and blood sugar levels up after that overnight fast, and helps you to really prime yourself for a good workout. Add a little caffeine or coffee to that, and you got a nice little kick, a little boost to give you some energy to really kind of power through your workouts. And there are other, supplements and things like this you could consider taking, but that is for an entirely different video on supplements. We're really going to just stick with, timing of meals right now. So just again to review, prior to workout, a little bit of carbohydrate and water. The simplest choice would be fruit. Remember, try to keep out the fats. So like a banana or two would be fine, but we're not really trying to add to that, like say peanut butter, right? That's going to be high fat food, and we want to try to avoid the fats prior to workout, because they interfere with our workout by pushing fat into the blood, which can restrict oxygen to working muscles, as well as causing food to be held up in the stomach longer. So fat will delay gastric emptying, and so the contents of the stomach are held up longer, which makes it a little bit uncomfortable to work out if you still feel like you got food sitting in your belly. So now after the workout, so you want to you got your pre-workout meal, and then you got your post-workout meal. Now the post-workout meal doesn't need to be consumed like right away, like right after your workout. In fact, there may be some advantages to kind of delaying that for a little bit, and going for a walk after your workout, or going for any type of light activity after a high intensity workout can actually help you burn even more fat. And delaying that meal a little bit until you actually feel hungry it may be a great strategy to enhance fat loss. So don't feel as though you get done with the workout and you just got to eat right away. That's kind of been that myth has kind of been debunked. And people used to think that if you didn't eat your protein right after that workout, you'd miss that quote unquote magic window where the food you're consuming would be if consumed right away, more anabolic and would promote muscle growth. And we now know that you don't have to eat it right away. You can go 2 to 3, maybe up to 4 hours after a workout and still get plenty of protein synthesis and an anabolic effect. In fact, in some cases it may be even better because of that sort of post-workout fast. You have an increased insulin sensitivity and whatnot. And so, but the main point here is after the workout, we want protein, And it's okay to have some carbohydrate and a little bit of healthy fat with that meal as well, just to have a nice, filling, satisfying meal that will promote satiety. So the idea, again, that it used to be told you need to eat a lot of carbs and protein right after the meal to really spike insulin and to get, again, increased absorption of amino acids. However, we now know that protein alone in most cases is going to be sufficient to spike protein synthesis. We don't need to add necessarily a lot of extra carbs. And those who are trying to push fat loss a bit more may want to really keep the carbohydrates post-workout a little bit lower, not eliminating them, and I'm not promoting a low carb diet, but you just want to really focus on protein, fibrous vegetables, a little bit of healthy fat. And it's okay to have a little bit, I think after a workout especially, it's a good time to maybe have a little bit of, a small amount of starchy carbohydrate as well. So maybe some sweet potato, rice, something like that would be fine as well, if desired. So now, again, depending on what time of day you are working out, you're still going to follow the same basic template. As far as, whether you work out at night, whether you work out in the first thing in the morning or afternoon, you're still going to want to follow that carbohydrate and water prior to the workout while restricting fat and protein. And then post-workout, we're trying to get protein, fibrous vegetables, and a little bit of healthy fat, possibly a little bit of healthy starches with that as well. Now, the remaining meals of the day, we're really following sort of the same template that we have with the post-workout meal. Meaning the other 2 or 3 meals, depending on the number of meals you're consuming, would want to be predominantly protein and fibrous vegetables, as well as possibly a little bit of starch. I would try to limit the starch and fruits to, not necessarily every single meal. Remember, you are going to have a certain amount of carbs that you can have for the day if you factor that in already. As long as you stay within your boundaries there, you're totally fine to have carbohydrate with each meal. It's just that if we have our carbs too high, remember, we're gonna put the brakes on fat loss a little bit. So we want to try to stick with low glycemic carbs like vegetables, and low glycemic fruits like berries. These are going to be great for helping promote fat loss. So a couple little things to just go over lastly here, just to make sure we've got covered. Before bed is another time to think about, and before bed we don't really want to have a giant meal if possible. It's not necessarily that it's going to promote a lot of weight gain per se. It's still good to have a decent amount of calories before bed, but one of the main things is that it can sometimes disrupt our sleep. It can also make it so that when we're like say essentially restricting ourselves during the early part of the day, we end up not getting sufficient protein during the day, and then we try to stockpile it all at night. And we know when it comes to the building muscle part of eating that we want our protein divided over 3 to 4 meals throughout the day rather than trying to consume it all at once. And there's some benefits from spacing that out, not only from a satiety perspective, but also from a muscle building perspective by increasing protein synthesis throughout the day. So I would try to recommend dividing up your protein into at least 3 meals, if not 4, in some cases even 5. But I say 3 to 4 meals is really a sweet spot for the dividing up of the protein throughout the day. So let's just say that you're aiming for 120 grams of protein for the meal. Then we want either 3 meals of like 40 grams of protein per meal, or even 4 meals of 30 grams of protein per meal. That would be a good target for you to shoot for. Another little tip for bedtime is if we want to boost our levels of serotonin, tryptophan, these other neurotransmitters and whatnot that can help us have relaxing sleep, having a little bit of carbohydrate and a little bit of protein before bed can actually in many cases help you to have more restful sleep. So I like to take an essential amino acid supplement before bed along with some type of carbohydrate. So like if I'm having a dinner meal, I usually like to have a little something after as like a little treat. And something, again, can be something healthy, particularly starchy foods. So potatoes, rice, whole grain pastas, these things can be really good at nighttime to make you feel really rested and relaxed and to sleep well. Let's see, we talked about, caffeine, pre-workout, carbs and water before workout, fasted cardio, protein, fiber. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered most of our bases here. So again, optimal meal frequency. One thing I probably should cover is, what is that optimal meal frequency? Remember that one of the most important things is we don't want to be eating all day long. We want time between meals. So that means that 3 to 4 hours ideally we should have between meals where we're not snacking on things, right? And drinking or eating calories. Remember, a meal, you still want to consider if you're drinking a cup of coffee, for example, as a meal, if it contains any calories. So if you're putting creamer or anything like that in your, or something with oil like MCT oil or something like that in your coffee, you want to treat that as though it were a meal, because every time you eat a meal, you're going to cause the production of insulin. You're going to essentially turn down fat burning a little bit. So it's kind of the space between meals, and then our nighttime fast, that really is a big part of where we're burning a lot of fat. And we really want to try to capitalize on having a little bit of space between meals. And so having a 3 to 4 hour window, and actually I also recommend having an eating schedule so it helps keep you on track. It's not to remind you when to eat per se, as much as it is to remind you when not to eat. So if you look at your day and you kind of, you get up and you're like, okay, I'm normally up about 7, I would be working out, let's say around 9, so I'd have my super carb here, so that would be meal 1, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna have my workout at 9, I'm gonna get done around 10, and then around 11 or 12, I'm gonna be kind of hungry, so I'm gonna have my lunch meal here, and I want, again, protein, fiber, and a little bit of fat, so that would be meal 2. And then you're going to say 1, 2, 3. So you're going to say, around 3 o'clock, 3:30-ish, I'm going to have, a snack meal. And so that might be, you might say, if you're working or busy, you might say that will be my convenience meal, because I'm, going to be on the go. So it could be a shake or a bar meal, let's say, just to give an example. And then you have down here, 3 to 4 hours later, we'd have like dinner, right, as our main meal. And again, we're going to follow that template of protein, fiber, healthy fat, a small amount of healthy fat for that meal. So that would give us like a 4-meal template. And again, depending on what time you get up in the morning, depending how active you are, depending how many calories you're having per meal, you may have possibly even a 5th meal added in here. But usually at 3 to 4 meals is going to be a sweet spot for many people to aim for each day. So I hope you found this video helpful, and if for some reason you want a little bit more one-on-one help with planning out your meals, feel free, you can always contact me here at Boda Fitness, and you can email bo@bodafitness.com, and I could sit down with you one-on-one in person, or we could even meet online and do a Zoom meeting where we can kind of really help you to specifically plan out your meals and get those all set up so they're customized for you. Look forward to talking to you in the next video.